I still remember the weight of that invitation in my hands. Heavy cardstock, gold lettering, my brother's wedding. But when I opened it, my name was printed wrong, like they'd copied it from some old document and never bothered to check. That should have been my first sign. The wedding was everything my family valued. Expensive, showy, full of people who mattered. I wore a simple dress, nothing flashy. I'd learnt long ago not to outshine my brother. He was the golden one, the one with the law degree, the corner office, the fiancé whose family owned half the real estate in town. I was just the sister who worked with computers. That's how my mother explained it anyway, like I fixed printers for a living. I sat in the back during the ceremony, not because I wanted to, but because that's where they put me. Cousins I barely knew were closer to the altar than I was. When my brother read his vows, he thanked everyone who'd supported him, his parents, his friends, his mentors. He looked right past me. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I was used to it. I smiled when people took photos. I clapped when they kissed. And when the reception started, I sat at table 12, next to my aunt's second husband and a couple I'd never met. My brother's table was front and center, surrounded by laughter and champagne. The speeches started after dinner. My father stood first, his voice booming across the room. He talked about my brother like he was describing a saint, how proud he was, how successful, how he'd always known this day would come. Then came the best man, the college roommate with the Rolex. More stories about my brother's brilliance, his charm, his future. Everyone laughed at the right moments. Everyone raised their glasses. I waited. I kept thinking someone would mention maybe a childhood story, something small. But when my father sat down, the MC moved on to the cake cutting. That's when I realized I wasn't just in the back row. I wasn't part of the story at all. I was furniture, decoration, the sister who showed up because that's what you do. I found my mother near the bar. I asked her quietly why I hadn't been asked to say anything. She looked at me like I'd asked why the sky was blue. Honey, you know your brother wanted to keep it simple. Just close family and friends. Close family. I let that sink in for a moment. Then she patted my arm and walked away, back to the table where she belonged. I stood there holding a glass of wine I didn't want, watching my brother dance with his bride. He looked so happy. He looked like someone who'd never doubted himself for a single second in his entire life. I left early. No one noticed. I drove home in silence, still wearing that simple dress, still carrying the fake smile I'd worn all night. When I got to my apartment, I sat on the couch in the dark and let myself feel it, all of it. The years of being second, the straight A's that were never quite good enough, the promotions I'd earned that my father would mention in passing, like they were participation trophies. My brother had called me 2 months before the wedding. He needed a favor. His fiance's brother was starting a business, some tech startup, and they needed advice on software infrastructure. Could I help? Of course I could. I spent weeks consulting with them, free of charge. I built them a roadmap, introduced them to contacts, even debugged their prototype. My brother thanked me over text. One line, no emoji. I pulled out my laptop that night and stared at my inbox. There was an email from 3 days ago, a recruiter from Singapore. They'd been trying to reach me for weeks about a position I'd applied to months back when I still thought maybe things would change here. Lead architect, international team, the kind of role my family would never understand because it didn't come with a framed degree they could hang on a wall. I hadn't responded yet. I'd been too busy helping my brother look good at his wedding. I read the email again, then I read it one more time, and then, in the dark of my apartment, I hit reply. The recruiter's name was Michelle. We had our first video call at 6 in the morning my time, noon in Singapore. She was sharp, direct, exactly the kind of person I wanted to work with. She asked about my experience, my vision, what I wanted to build, not who my family was, not what my brother did for a living, just me, what I could do. The offer came 2 weeks later. It was more than good. It was transformative. Salary in 6 figures, relocation package, equity in a company that was actually going somewhere. I read the contract 3 times, waiting for the catch. There wasn't one. They wanted me, not because of my last name or who I knew, because I was good at what I did. I didn't tell my family right away. I wanted to at first. I imagined calling my mother, hearing her be proud for once. But then my brother posted photos from his honeymoon Maldives, overwater bungalow, champagne at sunset. The caption said something about blessed and family support. I scrolled through the comments. My mother had written 3 paragraphs about how proud she was. My father had shared it to his own page. I wasn't tagged in a single photo from the wedding, so I stayed quiet. I signed the contract. I gave my notice at work for weeks. Professional, clean. I started selling furniture, packing boxes, closing accounts, and every Sunday I still showed up for family dinner like nothing had changed. At those dinners, I became invisible in a new way. I'd always been overlooked, but now I was studying it, watching how they talked around me, through me like I was a lamp in the corner. My brother would talk about his cases, and my father would lean in, fascinated. My mother would ask about the honeymoon again, even though she'd heard every detail twice. When someone finally turned to me, it was always the same question. And how's work? It's good, I'd say, and that would be it. No follow-up. No curiosity. They'd nod and move on, back to my brother's world, where everything mattered. 3 weeks before my flight, my brother called. He needed another favor. His wife's brother, the startup guy I'd helped, was looking for investors, and my brother wanted to impress his new in-laws by bringing someone to the pitch meeting. Did I know anyone in tech with money? I almost laughed. I'd built half their product architecture, and now I was being asked if I knew someone important. I'll see what I can do, I told him. I didn't see what I could do. I didn't try. He never called back to check. I spent my last 2 weeks in that city walking through places I'd known my whole life, saying silent goodbyes. The coffee shop where I'd studied for exams. The park where I'd eaten lunch alone more times than I could count. I didn't feel sad. I felt light, like I was shedding skin I'd outgrown years ago. My last family dinner was 4 days before my flight. I almost cancelled. Part of me wanted to just disappear, leave a note, let them figure it out. But something pulled me there. Maybe curiosity, maybe closure. I needed to see them one more time as the person they thought I was before I became someone they'd never recognized. Dinner was lamb, my mother's recipe, the one she always made for celebrations, except there was nothing to celebrate that night. It was just Sunday. My brother was talking about a promotion he might get. Not even official yet, but already my father was planning how to announce it at the country club. I cut my meat into small pieces and chewed slowly, watching them perform this routine they'd perfected over decades. "You're quiet tonight," my mother said, finally looking at me. There was no concern in her voice, just observation. "Just tired," I said. "Work's been busy," she replied, already turning back to my brother. "You work too hard for what they probably pay you." I smiled, set down my fork, took a sip of water. In my purse, under the table, was my boarding pass. Printed, folded, real. In my apartment, boxes were stacked and labeled, ready for the shipping company on Monday. My lease was ending. My bank accounts were transferred. Everything that mattered fit in 2 suitcases. And sitting at that table, I realized something. I'd already left. I'd left weeks ago. This was just my ghost, finishing the meal. I landed in Singapore on a Thursday. By Monday, I was in meetings with people who actually listened when I spoke. By the end of my first month, I was leading a team of 12. By 6 months, we'd launched a product that got written up in TechCrunch. My life became full in ways I didn't know were possible, work that challenged me, friends who saw me, a city that felt like it had been waiting for me all along. I didn't call home. They didn't call me either, not for a while. I'd sent a group text the day after I landed, made it safe. New number below. Talk soon. 3 people responded. My aunt said, "Congrats." A cousin sent a thumbs up. My mother wrote, "Okay, honey." That was it. 4 months in, my brother called. I was in a cab heading to a client dinner when I saw his name on my screen. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Hey," he said, voice tight. "We need to talk." "No hello. No how are you. Just need." "I'm listening," I said. He exhaled, sharp and frustrated. "Dad's pissed. You left without telling anyone. Mum's upset. You missed Thanksgiving. And now I'm hearing from people that you're in Singapore, working for some company no one's even heard of." I watched the city lights blur past my window. "Yes, that's all correct." "Why didn't you tell us?" "I did. I sent a text." "A text? Are you serious?" "You sent a text about a wedding gift once," I said, keeping my voice level. "I figured it was the family standard for major announcements." Silence. "Then that's not fair, isn't it?" I watched my reflection in the cab window sharper somehow, clearer than I remembered. "Tell me, do you know what I do for a living?" "You work in tech." "You do. Software stuff. I'm the lead architect for a platform that processes 40 million transactions a day across Southeast Asia. I have equity worth more than your house. And last month, I was offered a board position at a startup valued at $200 million. I paused. "But sure, software stuff." More silence. I could hear him breathing, recalibrating. "Why are you being like this?" he finally asked. "I'm not being like anything. I'm just telling you what my life is. The life you never asked about." "That's not. We've always supported you." I almost laughed. "You thanked everyone but me at your wedding." "Mum told me I worked too hard for what they they'd probably pay me. Dad hasn't asked me a single question about my career in 5 years. You called me twice in 2 years, both times because you needed something. The cab slowed at a red light. So no, you didn't support me. You tolerated me. Jesus, you sound bitter. I sound free, I corrected. There's a difference. He tried a different approach. His voice softened, the lawyer tone he used when he wanted something. Look, I know we haven't been perfect, but we're family. You can't just walk away from that. I'm not walking away, I said. I already left. Months ago. You just didn't notice. The cab pulled up to the restaurant Glass and Steel, Harbour View, the kind of place where decisions worth millions got made over wine. I could see my team through the window, laughing, waiting for me. I have to go, I said. I have a dinner. When are you coming home? Home. The word felt foreign. I am home. You know what I mean? Maybe Christmas. Maybe not. I'll let you know. I paused, hand on the door handle. Oh, and tell Dad something for me. Tell him his daughter's doing just fine. Better than fine, actually. Tell him the company he's never heard of just got acquired and my equity vested. Tell him I'm exactly as successful as you are. I just did it without anyone's help. I didn't wait for his response. I ended the call, stepped out into the warm night air, and walked into that restaurant where people knew my name, knew my work, knew exactly who I was. My phone buzzed twice. My brother, probably, or my mother. I silenced it and slipped it into my bag. Inside, my colleague waved me over, already pouring wine. You made it, she said, smiling. We were just talking about the Jakarta expansion. They want you to lead it. I sat down, picked up my glass, and finally let myself smile back. Really smiled. Tell me everything.